Welcome back to The New Mechanic. My name's Randy, and this is my e46. Today, we're going to do a full review of all the leather in the car to see how the dye is holding up. Also, this episode's a little bit bittersweet because you're going to see, all the work that I put into these leather seats, and I think it turned out really good. Some parts, a little bit better than others, but bittersweet because I'm actually selling this car today, probably in about half an hour. So, yeah, I'm going to miss this car, but honestly, we got some bigger and better things coming up, so stay tuned for that in a future video. And yeah, so let's go ahead and check it all out.
All right, let's start with the passenger front seat. Honestly, it's holding up really, really well. It was actually the part that was on the driver's seat. I swapped the backs on the front seats. So now if we zoom in there, you can see some of the stitching is coming apart. And honestly, that's how it was before. But as far as the dye goes, it's holding up really, really well. There's only a few cracks, and all the cracks were here previously. And I'll talk about the cracking a little bit because there is some on the driver's seat over there. And I'll tell you about why it's happening and what I think I could have done to fix that or prevent it. So otherwise, the seat's really, really good. I'm really happy with it. So as you can see, there's just a little bit of cracking. Nothing too bad. Stitching looks decent. The seat surface looks decent. I'm very, very happy with, how this has held up over 8 months. And to be fair, the passenger seat has not gotten a lot of use, so it's not surprising that it's held up really well. But yeah, I am definitely very happy with it. And this is the front seat. Honestly, it's held up really well. I'm definitely really happy with it because you can tell, here, it looks really, really good. There's no cracking. There's nothing coming off. I've cleaned it. Nothing comes off on my hands, so really happy with that. The headrests look good, and honestly, they're pretty soft. Like, you put your head back, and you're like, oh, that feels comfortable. But the problem areas. So, again, the seats, I'm very happy with it. Looks like there's a little stain or a smudge there. I don't think that was due to the leather dye itself. So I'm not sure what's up with that. But the biggest issue that we have down here is the cracking. So you can see the cracking over here. And this happened probably a week after the dye. And I'm pretty sure I know what's happening here. So the primary issue that we're having is that these cracks were in the leather before the dye went on here. So what happened was basically we had a little valley, and I ended up putting a lot of dye on these seats to try to get the color to change quicker. And I think what's happening was in that valley, instead of coating the valley, it globbed it over. So I think what happened was it filled that whole thing, and then with just enough use of, pushing it like that every time I sat down, it cracked that valley, and then you can see some of the black poking through. So I think that's what happened, and so I think the way to fix that is really just to use really light coats. I think that white foam pad that came in my pack, I think if I would have used that to go over these surfaces and do the whole dye job, I think it actually would have covered these, and I don't think the cracks would be showing through as well. So just something to consider in the future, and maybe even contact the company if you want to do this job to see, if you have a lot of cracks, what's the best way to do it. But I'm pretty sure very light coats with a sponge would have resolved this far better than spraying it in heavier coats like I did. Similar story back here on the back seats. Really happy with how everything turned out. Again, the leather looks really good. No complaints. There's a few places where it was hard to get the color to change fully. Like right around here, you can kind of see some black coming through. I don't know if it'll show up on camera. Yeah, you can kind of see that. So it's not perfect. Maybe a few more coats of dye would have helped. But I was running low, and I think a lot of that was because I was using the spray gun rather than a foam pad. But same story, wherever there was use, and there were cracks before, it was starting to crack. So this here is pretty soft leather, and this literally is right here where my dog would stand. There was a hammock covering it, but I think, just her pushing down on it was causing the cracking. I'm pretty sure there were cracks in this leather beforehand. It wasn't just, pushing down on it, causing cracks in the die. I think there were cracks in the leather itself, and we had the same valley issue. But in either case, I think having heavy, thick coats was the primary issue and cause of these cracks. So, yeah. Otherwise, you know, it looks really good, and I think even with the cracks, it looks so much better than when it was black. The seats were black. All right, on to the front doors. Yeah, so very similar story. It looks really, really good. Very happy with it. The only issue that I've had is right here on this door handle. So if we zoom in real close, you can see where it actually peeled away. So there's a line right here. There's still dye here, but this doesn't have dye all the way back to right around here. And I think the camera's picking it up pretty well. It actually looks worse on camera than it does in person. You can't actually tell that line very well, so that's nice. So the problem here, I'm pretty sure, is that I didn't use any adhesion promoter. So I probably didn't clean this as well as I needed to, and then I didn't use the adhesion promoter, and then I used too thick of dye coat. So I think the dye, especially the very first coat, didn't adhere very well, and then we put thicker coats on top of it, and then literally the first time I used it, it literally just rubbed right off, or started to peel off. So just an FYI, in anywhere that there is high use, highly, highly, highly recommend using the adhesion promoter. The door handle, you can tell that looks terrible. But, you know, Peter knows about it. And, I mean, this is something simple, so we can peel it off, not a big deal. And then also on the edges there, you can see, you know, not the best wrap job in the world, but it was my first one, so not upset about it. Next up, you know, wrapped the interior. I wish we had a new shift knob, but, you know, that was going to be like $80 to get a good one, so I didn't really want to spend that money right now, especially when I knew I was going to get rid of the car. Wrapped all that. The only place that I have an issue is around the aftermarket radio, and I'm not going to bother with that for now, because maybe we'll get maybe the new owner will get a different radio, maybe the OEM one. Who knows? All right, so that is all the leather. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, I got so many questions over the last 8 months about how's it holding up, what's it look like now, and I'm sorry for taking so long to answer those questions. And I don't know why I posted like 7 videos on how to change the dye, because that was totally unnecessary. The tutorial only needs to last like 1 episode, just so you knew how to do it. But whatever. So yeah, so I'm really excited for the new owner. His name's Peter. Hope he really enjoys this car. I know I really enjoyed it the last 2 years. And yeah, so let's go ahead and record his reaction to the car. Peter,
Randy,
are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's open it.
Oh my gosh, look at this thing. Can I go in?
Yes.
Okay. Woo. Man, you cleaned it way too much.
I did clean it.
Or the new mechanic, excuse me. That's it, Nick. I might start it.
It's your car. You've already signed the paperwork.
Oh my goodness. Feels like a brand new car. Choose the number. No, we'll do that after. Okay, see you guys. Bye.
Bye. So I just finished up all the editing for this video and realized that I had some more things I wanted to say. First, thank you to everyone who's watched my videos. I've learned a lot about the e46, BMWs, and cars in general. So I've really, really enjoyed this car. And I hope that the videos have been used to other people. I hope people have enjoyed them, entertained by them, learn things what not to do. So I've enjoyed making the videos, and yeah, just wanted to appreciate everybody who's, you know, taking the time to watch my videos, leave comments, like, subscribe, etc. Just want to say thank you. But yeah, I've learned so much with this car. I can't say how much and how grateful I am to have had this car for the last 2 years. And thank you to my wife for letting me get the car. She didn't really want us to have 3 cars, which is totally unnecessary, and I agree and I understand, but
I definitely want to say thank you to Steph for allowing me to get 3 cars, and it was a blast while we had all 3. So the 325i may end up coming back to the channel. I sold it to a friend of mine, his name's Peter, and we did a lot of work to it right before I sold it to it. We did the MAF sensor, we did the fuel pump, the fuel filter. That finally got our fuel trims back down. I think they're sitting right around 2 to 3%, which is acceptable. Then after this video, he took it home, and literally he got home and found coolant on the ground. We're not entirely sure where it came from. I'm wondering if when I got the car inspected, they topped up the level of coolant, and the expansion tank has an area that does not have coolant in it because it's an expansion tank. It expands. Anyways, I think they topped it up, and when he parked it on an incline facing downwards and decided to rev the car, which the car should be able to handle that just fine. And so I think what happened was the coolant got moving and then hit the cap, and the cap has an overflow system to it so that excess coolant will come out and it doesn't build excess pressure and blow up your system. So I think that's where the coolant came from. But because of the issues with the e46 cooling system, we decided to replace a bunch. We did the radiator, the expansion tank, a bunch of hoses. So yeah, the car should be solid for him. Also told him, because it's a friend, when he goes to sell it, to let me know. So if the wife allows me to, we may consider buying it back from him, but we'll see. We will see. So what's next? Well, I just got a sports car. So my first sports car, I am super excited to show you guys and share with you what car I got next. If you check out my Instagram or my Facebook, you'll know because it's been on there for several months. I bought it in October. But yeah, I hope you guys look forward to that video and the future videos with that car. And we're gonna take it to the track. February 15th, I signed up for the track day. It was supposed to be last month on the last day of January, but they pushed it back 15 days. I'm not sure why, but that's okay. So we're gonna sign up for it. It'll be at Summit Point, and it'll be with BMW Car Club of America National Chapter. So I am super excited. I cannot wait. And yeah, so I guess that's a hint. It's a BMW. So yeah. As far as the leather dye goes, one of the questions I had always asked myself after doing the leather dye was, would I do this again? And I think the answer is maybe. I think it really depends. If I'm looking for absolute perfection, which with that car stuff, you know, when I'm working on it, sometimes I am. Like I wanted the leather to look perfect. It's hard to justify it if you're looking for absolute perfection. If you're gonna do that, replace the leather itself. Go to lseat.com and buy brand new leather. You're not gonna have cracks in it. It's all gonna be consistent. You're not gonna have to worry about wear. And honestly, the amount of work I did on that car, if I would have replaced the leather, it would have been a little bit easier because I wouldn't have spent all the time dyeing it, and the results would have been better. Only problem is it would have been a little bit more expensive. However, I ended up buying a lot of dye, and I think that was because I sprayed the dye on, and a lot of it goes to overspray and such. And I think if I would have used the foam pad, I could have used a lot less. So in all, I think the L seat would have been a little bit more expensive, but would have looked a little bit better. However, the other parts of the car, you still need a dye. So like the doors, if you wanted the door cards to be a different color like I did, you have to dye them. If you want to get all the black anthracite vinyl and leather to be, you know, back to its original glory, you got to dye that too, or buy brand new stuff. So those are your options: buy brand new or dye it. So I think for those, I made the right decision. As far as the leather goes, I'm happy with it. I think it looked really, really good. It was definitely more of a budget, you know, build, if you will, and I don't regret it whatsoever. Now, if you have a higher end car, you might not want to do that unless you have like a second set of seats that you got for cheap or something like that, and you just want to try this. But yeah, if you have your Porsche or your M3 or something like that, you probably don't want to dye it unless you got like some cheap seats and you wanted to try to dye it and see what it looked like. And if you do that, just go through my videos, or I guess this video, describing what I would have done differently. And I think the keys are: make sure that you use the adhesion promoter, make sure you clean it really, really well, and use extremely light coats using the foam pad. And I think if you follow those 3 things, I think it'll turn out really, really good. But yeah, so that's all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully you didn't get tired of me talking for 7 minutes. But yeah, thank you again for watching. Really do appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this, feel free to like it. Feel free to subscribe it. Send it to your friends. Would greatly appreciate that. And I'll catch you next time.